The internet has been chewing on the Street Fighter 6 reveal teaser for some time now, and we're pretty sure we've gotten all we're going to get out of it. So, we turn our eyes to the summer of 2022, where more Street Fighter 6 news has been promised. When specifically? Well, we've hammered down 4 different windows in time where we think Street Fighter 6 news is most likely, and even go as far as to say the nature of what kind of news will pop out of those 4 moments, all on this especially exciting episode of Talk and Block. When I was a kid and my family went out to eat and we got chicken wings at, say, TGI Fridays. TGI Fridays, if you want to sponsor us, you totally can, if they still exist. Anyways, we got chicken wings. You could always tell who ate what chicken wings by the end with the bones sitting on the table. Because, like, if it was my little sister, they'd have, like, mostly eat little bits and pieces. And if it was my dad, there was, like, a scorched earth policy, like, completely clean, totally just bone. It looked like a swarm of locusts came in and just... And so... And that's how I feel the Street Fighter 6 teaser is at this point. The internet got it. It was great. We munched on it. We've chewed on it. We've looked at every different angle. We've, I think, kind of looked at everything that there is to look at this point. We know it's Ryu and it's Luke and they look different, and they spent $80 on a logo and they've got cool effects, and Ryu's got a big, Shenlong. But at this point, it's like we're kind of done with that 38 seconds. And so now people are doing like roster speculation, which we've done, absolutely, and we were actually doing that before it was cool. But now I'm kind of like, what's next? And I think the actual question is, legit, what's next? When are we going to hear more about Street Fighter 6? And I know that Capcom has said, well, it's going to be in the summer of 2022. They released a tweet just after the teaser came out. But summer of 2022 is a pretty big window of time. And I have 4 potential spots where we're more likely than others to hear some stuff about Street Fighter 6. And I want to tell you guys about them. But beforehand, John's going to tell you to psycho crush the like button.
I am definitely going to take that. You have 4 things you're going to say. I have one thing I need everyone to do, and that's just punch that psycho crush the like button. Or punch psycho crush, whatever it is, something like that. It's something. Now, John, let's get into your 4 things.
Like our video, guys, and comment and subscribe and all that stuff, and tell your mom about us. Okay, so the first of these, I'm looking at this calendar here, and summer, for what it's worth, of 2022, I think begins in mid-June and lasts until mid-September. Now, I've been working on EventHubs. I've been paying attention to when Capcom promises stuff, and they give little window times of like when something can come up. In Street Fighter V, there's a lot of this DLC character will release in June, and more often than not, they release at the end of the window. And I was like, when they said summer of 2022, I was like, it's going to be the end of it, and we're going to be waiting 6, 7, 8 months for more information on Street Fighter 6. I do not think that is what's going to happen here. In fact, I think that by mid-August or so, we might have as many as 4 new information drops, showcases and such. And the first of which is something that you and I, John, have talked about when we were discussing this a little bit before. It's E3. John, what can you tell me about E3? Because I know that this was like your lead in terms of like when you think we'll see new stuff.
The thing about it is we saw a lot of announcements at E3 for Street Fighter V. It's one of the hallmarks, of course, of video games. It's been turned on its head by the pandemic, as a lot of things have been. I know some of the bigger people have pulled out of it, but it's still E3 at the end of the day. So there is an extremely good chance we see something more there.
Yeah, and it's E3, like you're kind of getting at, is not what it used to be. It used to be the big boy in the room, the big dog, and now there's a whole bunch of other shows that are sort of like it. And it's relegated to being online only for at least this year, and it's had some trouble because of COVID and such. And so it certainly isn't the E3 that it used to be. But that said, it's very, very probable that Capcom will show something here. Now, I want to know, what do you think in terms of what you think they might show? Are we going to get another 30 or 45-second teaser with maybe another character? Or is it more along the lines of something like an entire trailer that lasts for a few minutes and shows a good bit more?
I think you have to do the next thing is it has to be a gameplay trailer. You have to show some gameplay, but you can also show the hype stuff we had leading up to Street Fighter V, like the Rise Up campaign, where it shows people playing Street Fighter 2 in arcades and different footage for tournaments and stuff like that. Like you can do a collage of that. That's totally fine, and then have a few seconds of gameplay. But if it's something like E3, if it's one of the big stages, you have to showcase the game a good bit more. And also, from everything we're hearing, this game is going to be coming out in early 2023.
Mhm.
That means, probably February, maybe March, somewhere around there. It's, it's far enough in development. It's good enough right now that should be the release date for it. You got to start showing more than that, because the game is going to be less than a year away,
Right.
and so you really got to start getting into it.
Yeah. Well, when E3 like kicked off back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it usually took place in May, but very much in more recent times, it's been in it's been in June, and usually around the second week in June. So we will be, of course, looking at E3 Event Hubs. It's a big time of year for us, even if Street Fighter 6 is not in the news. But we will be looking at E3 and probably in the second week in June for potential Street Fighter 6 information.
Yeah,
There's
you and
all
I will likely be there, actually covering it directly from there, if they actually have the Street Fighter 6 announcements we're expecting. So we'll be
oh,
talking with the developers. We'll be, well, at least I'll be there. I'm going to try to drag John along with me. Hopefully he comes, but if not, but yeah, the
pretty
plan
sure
is to
it's
be
all
at
online
E3.
this year, though.
Oh, is it all online this year?
That's what I think my research yielded.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
which
you know what?
I disagree with, if that isn't, now you're making me second guess, but
Yeah,
I don't
now
think
I'm
it's a good
curious.
call, man. Everybody's going offline. Yeah, go ahead and I'll
Now,
buy time.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
but
okay, so we'll be covering it from our homes then, if it's there. But when the major conventions start coming back up, though, I can say that you and I will be at a lot of them.
hell
So
yeah.
that's a way of looking at it. So
So as you look that up, the next potential big release is actually similar to E3. It's a younger entity that has been coming up. I think this will be its third year, and that is the Summer Game Fest. So Summer Game Fest 2022. You guys probably recognize Jeff Keighley from the Game Awards at the end of the year, but he actually does more than just that. In the middle of the year, he does the Summer Game Fest, and this is it's sort of like E3, and it's like this big sort of celebration of gaming where a lot of different developers can come together and show their stuff. And this will also be online only. But unlike E3, that usually runs for 3-5 days or so, this actually runs for like 2 months. And it will run, I believe, this year from June to July. Last year it ran from June 10th to July 22nd. So I'm sorry, a month time. But this is like E3's sudden new competition, and at the Game Award, or I'm sorry, the Game Awards, the Summer Game Fest, we've had things like the reveals of the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I think that was like the old Tony Hawk Pro Skater redone or remastered, but then Unreal Engine 5. It was the first hands-on experience with the PlayStation 5 DualSense. There's been a lot of major reveals. There's no reason why Capcom couldn't jump on here and show something. And I would assume that if they engaged with Summer Games Fest, just because it's not as big as E3, at least not yet, this might be more of a likely point for another teaser or a little bit of information, or maybe like a developer interview where they just talk about some things, but not necessarily showing all new stuff. But this is something to look at. Mark your calendars. We don't have an official window for when it will be this year, but again, June, July kind of time, which very much falls into summer of 2022. And John, do you have that information on E3 yet?
E3 is mainly going to be online according to a tweet, but it is a little bit up in the air. Some people are saying like they might try to get it back and actually have it in Los Angeles again, but more than likely just online, as you said.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a great platform where Capcom knows there's going to be a bunch of eyes. They've used it before to announce stuff, as has everybody and their mother when it comes to the gaming industry. So, E3 is a big one to look at. I say Summer Game Fest is also a big one to look at. It's very spread out, so it could come at any time during that. But did you have anything that you wanted to talk about when it comes to Summer Game Fest?
Summer Games Fest is ran by Jeff Keighley. He's one of the top journalists in the field. He's really good at what he does, and it's kind of come a little bit out of left field for some people, but the first one was really good, and expecting, again, a return to form there. There's so many kind of great dates here that you're kind of wondering when Capcom's going to push their chips in terms of like showing a lot of the game, and so it's a very good candidate right there.
Well, the next one here is where I think we could potentially, if this comes to fruition, get the most information in a single setting. And that would be is if Capcom does another seasonal summer update. They've done two of those so far. They've done a whole bunch of seasonal updates, right? But two times it's been the summer update. And in 2020, this took place on August 5th. And then last year in 2021, it happened in late July, July 28th. So you're looking at late July, early August. If Capcom runs a summer update, that would, I mean, what else are they going to talk about? But probably some major Street Fighter 6 stuff. And I dare say what usually gets paired with that is a whole, PlayStation blog and Capcom Unity presentation when they've shown new characters. It's like, breakdowns of all of their moves. When they do this, they roll out a bunch of information. And in recent times, they've also been giving us awesome breadcrumb trails, whether that be the roadmap for the coming DLC, or saying, get ready for the next one that's coming, and or this next character. And they've really been leveling up with their communication with their fans through these seasonal updates. And I see no reason as to why they couldn't do another one. They have a lot to talk about with Street Fighter 6, a lot of anticipation. And there, it's all you. It's all Capcom. Just whatever they want to talk about. No time constraints. They don't have to worry about getting on and off the stage and having their presentation be a certain time. They can focus on whatever they want. I really think that this would be a really big Street Fighter 6 info drop in the summer of 2022.
And it's hands down what they should do. Their presentations are great. Getting to hear as much as humanly possible from these developers who work so hard on this game, and not just have it in a presentation. Like, do the presentation at E3 or Summer Games Fest or whatever you want to do. Sure, do that as well, but have this introduction video with the developers talking at length about the game. No stage presence. Sony or Microsoft is going to give you 30 or 40 minutes of time to break down the various parts of the game, but you can control that yourself. And your fans are that hardcore and passionate. The FGC thrives so much on passion and energy from the hardcore fan base. You have to cater to that. You have to get that going right from the start. Doesn't mean you can't do this other stuff as well, but you really need to get your developers in there talking about these games in this fashion. It is just a brilliant way to go about your game.
And speaking of a passionate community, if you guys agree with these, disagree with them, feel free to hit up the comment section and let us know. The point of these discussions, a very big part of it is to get the community talking and considering, because when you speak or when you write, that's when you truly think about things. That's when you make all the little connections and really understand something. And so the more the community speaks, writes, thinks about these things, they can figure out what their expectations are, what they want, what they hope to see, and it just makes things a little bit more exciting and a little bit more intriguing. And so the last of the 4 major times or events or moments where I think that we are going to have a pretty good chance at getting some Street Fighter 6 info here in the summer of 2022 is EVO. And that just got announced yesterday. Street Fighter 5 will be there. Shocker. Spoilers. Smash will not. But yeah, EVO has almost, as far as as long as I've been part of the FGC and been paying attention, there's been some kind of a Street Fighter reveal or update or announcement. Certainly a Capcom one at EVO. It's always a Capcom game that's kind of headlining EVO. They know all eyes are on them, and it's just there's always some kind of a reveal, and it would feel completely wrong, especially with Street Fighter 5 being, I think, their headlining game. It was the first one that they revealed, at least last night during the reveal stream. It would be weird if they didn't have any announcements surrounding the top 8 or so of Street Fighter 5. But EVO is not what it used to be, that's for sure. Did you have any reactions to it? Any thoughts on that?
I think we'll probably get like a character or something like that at EVO. EVO is not anywhere near what an E3 or a Summer Game Fest is for audience and other stuff. Like, I mean, you're catering to just the hardcore FGC people at that point, and they know about Street Fighter. They know what Street Fighter is. They know all this other kind of stuff. But when you're up on an E3 thing, you're competing with a Call of Duty. You're competing with like an Overwatch. You're competing with other games that are very large and have a large following. And it's your chance to kind of get seen by gamers kind of across the globe in a way that, EVO definitely offers some of that, but, EVO had some major PR hits, deservedly so. And I don't think they fully recovered from that. I know I've seen a number of top end players are like, I'm kind of done with EVO. I'm out. I'm actually kind of curious how hard the reverberations are going to kind of be felt in the community, because there's a ton of great events in the community. It's not like EVO is just like the only thing here. It's like we've got a bunch of brilliant events out there that people can go to. So I'm kind of curious where EVO is going to end up at, but I like you do agree that I think they'll have something for EVO, because why wouldn't you? It's still the biggest fighting game event, probably. We'll see. And it's nice to have something, but also there's so many avenues they can go with now.
Yeah. EVO does have a little bit of reproving and like inventing itself to do. And they have people on there now, Pokimane and Rick the Hatto and such, that the community has a decent bit of faith in. And that those people have moved and shaken shook before and seen a lot of success in what they've done. So I think there's a really good chance for Evo to do well. But yeah, like you said, it's not as big of an audience as E3. It's a fighting game specific audience. The likes of E3 and those other places. It's the entirety of video game culture and such. And then this is fighting games minus Smash Bros. Now, as Evo's not going to have Smash Bros. So yeah, I do think that it's not the platform that it used to be. It might become just as high status, if not higher, in some time, but it's got to prove itself. So those are the four places that I think we will be specifically looking for some Street Fighter 6 information coming here in the summer. Now there is going to be some new SF5 stuff coming this month at some point. We're already 9 days into it with the new balance update, and then probably some information on Capcom Pro Tour 2022. Is that what 9, whatever we're at? And I don't expect to see Street Fighter 6 information there because they said summer of 2022. So, but yeah,
Might see a teaser, but I think that's about the best case, or maybe some stuff in the background that Masumoto or Nakayama put up there. That would kind of be like I think the only thing we see if we get a accompanying video with the balance changes, which we don't always get, but sometimes those guys they sneak some stuff in there. So it's a good time to leave some breadcrumbs, as you would say, and kind of mess around with it. But I could see something coming here in March, but nothing major, just something for the fighting game community.
Fair enough.